welcome to the Ranger's Respite. I'm Philip, and this is Drinking Geek. Hey guys, it is time for my usual Wednesday video, which is of course a whiskey review, and as you might have been able to discern from the title and thumbnail, I'm reviewing the Van Winkle Family Reserve Rye, which is a 13-year-old Kentucky straight rye whiskey. Of course, distilled by the old Rip Van Winkle distillery in Frankfort, Kentucky, and bottled at 47.8% or 95.6 proof. Now, first things first, I have to address the nature of the Van Winkle products. They are highly sought after in the bourbon enjoying circles and have become almost a joke in how much people are willing to pay for them. And prices, even in liquor stores, have gotten to the point where it's just on the face of it not worth the price it's often being asked. For example, I have seen pictures of liquor stores with this bottle, among others, in a glass case, asking for $2,000 for this bottle of 13-year-old rye whiskey. I, of course, did not spend $2,000. If I ever say that I did spend that much on a single bottle of whiskey, my friends would hunt me down and probably have me institutionalized. Now, I did end up paying somewhat more than I normally would pay for any bottle of whiskey. After tax, because of where I live, I got this at MSRP plus tax, which ended up being about $128, which for this particular bottle is pretty good, considering that that's MSRP. The question is it worth that money? Let's find out. I love that sound. So, the first thing to note is that this isn't what people generally think of when you say pappy. Usually when you say pappy, people think of the bourbon, which ranges in age from the 10-year, 12, 15, 20, and 23-year-old releases that are annual releases from the old Rip Van Winkle distillery, which is, of course, owned by Buffalo Trace, which is owned by Sazerac. And, you know, it's sort of interesting that there are so many very sought-after whiskeys coming out of Buffalo Trace and Sazerac, like the Buffalo Trace Antique Collection, Pappy Van Winkles, the full proof, the 1792 full proofs, the Blanton's bottlings, Elmer T. Lee. Just something to consider. Now, on the nose, this is a little intense. Very, very strong notes of licorice jelly beans. Like just artificial licorice, really strongly. A little bit of like fennelly notes, almost absinthe-like. And some like mulchy, woody notes. A little bit of black pepper, maybe. Very interesting notes. And I am a fan of rye. I am a fan of that aniseed licoricey flavor that you often get in rye whiskeys. But this has the strongest artificial um, artificial jelly licorice jelly bean flavor of any rye whiskey I've had to date. And the oak influence of being 13 years old is definitely present. It's surprisingly spiky and drying in the mouth for something that is 13 years old. Granted, it's 13 American years and not 13 Scottish years. Yeah, but you would think that that would have more of an aging effect than in Scotland. I don't know. Look, it's a little bit spikier than you would expect. A little more aggressive. 95 isn't anything to scoff at, I guess. Just a little bit pricklier than I expected. And on the palate, there's lots more woody notes present. More like like pumpernickel bready notes, and a little bit of yeastiness, and uh, more of that herbal aniseed. The the very strong artificial licorice flavor fades a little bit on the palate and isn't as present as on the nose, which might be good depending on how you feel about it. It it has an almost rubbery funk to it, which I find in a lot of ryes. And in this, it's like almost like if you've ever unwrapped a set of new tires from someplace, like in a shop, just like cut the plastic on a set of new tires and gotten that like strong, like rubbery, like dusty note um, that's in here, which is interesting. Deepens the taste. The finish isn't very long, and it's mostly oak tannins and a little bit of like bitter char, maybe like some like light fruitiness in there on the finish, but it's overall very bitter and dry. Um, yeah, interesting, enjoyable. Um, I'd say a little bit different from most of the rye whiskeys that I've had. And to answer that question that I asked up front, is this worth what I paid? Not really, no. I don't think so. It's hard to explain that I am glad I spent the money to buy this bottle to try it. Um, but I would not buy this bottle again. Um, having tried it, I would be hard pressed to spend more than 75 to 80 bucks on it. But that's really just because at the price point that it's at, there are a lot of uh, more, I guess not necessarily more interesting, but there are a lot of other very good, solid bottles that I would put on a similar quality level to this that are available much more readily. So if you are planning on getting this anyway, I would suggest looking at other whiskeys. You may not be able to get that 13-year age statement, but that's okay. Age in whiskey isn't necessarily everything. There are other factors. Um, and given how often this is faked, unless you're getting it through like a state agency or directly from Buffalo Trace, there is the slim possibility that you could be tricked into buying a counterfeit bottling, which is an unfortunate side effect of there being these unicorn bottles that people are willing to spend ridiculous amounts of money on. Anyway, that's the review taken care of. Now let's take care of the rest of the things on my list. If you want to support my channel, if you would like to see more content like this, please consider supporting me. In the description below, you will find links to my Patreon, which gets you voting rights for what I review, and I will go over that a little more in depth in a moment. You get exclusive content, you get content early, and you get access to the Drinking Geeks Discord server, where you can talk with myself and other members of my local whiskey club and my former co-host about whiskey, cocktails, and numerous other things. There's also a link to a coffee where if you don't feel like being a monthly contributor to the channel, you can just buy me a coffee if you see an episode that you enjoy particularly. And an Etsy store where I sell these adorable That's the Spirit pot still stickers designed by my friend Alyssa at Apricot Studios. You will also find a link to the Whiskey Lodge Discord server. It's a great place to hang out, talk about whiskey, other alcohol-related stuff, and unrelated stuff. Today we were joking about how the best car for a road trip is one that you borrowed. Of course, for legal reasons, that is a joke. So, full disclosure, I am a moderator there. Now, to the poll. So, of course, this was added to the poll because I got it recently, and which replacing it on the poll is in a similar situation. It's something that I received recently. It's not local craft whiskey, but it is craft whiskey. That is Burnside Oregon Oaked Rye. And it is in the poll with KO Distilling Bare Knuckle Straight Bourbon Whiskey, Merlarky Smokehouse Cured Whiskey, and Canadian Club Classic 12-Year-Old. And again, if you would like to vote for what I review next week, all you've got to do is join my Patreon. It's $1 a month, and there are numerous benefits. I think that handles everything. And of course, now I can't sell this for $2,000 on the secondary because I've opened it. For legal reasons, that was a joke, of course. Until next time, stay happy, stay geeks. Sláinte.